Welcome back to the Phantom Fuel Podcast. It's time to kick off episode 4. I'm RJ, and today we're keeping the momentum going with another brand new co-host. I'm excited to welcome Jarell to the show.
Hey, RJ, thanks for having me, man. I'm looking forward to this.
We're pumped to have you here. One of the things we've been doing is introducing more voices from the Air National Guard, and today it's your turn. Before we dive into the final part of our Gig Eagle conversation, tell us a little about your military journey.
Absolutely. I'm in the chaplain career field. I serve as a religious affairs airman.
And as far as my journey in the Air National Guard goes, I love it. Everybody's career is going to have highs and lows. I've had way more highs than I had lows. And in fact, the lows have taught me so much, and they've actually empowered me and given me maturity as soon as I was able to process those in the right kind of way. And as a result of that, I just feel like I'm better. You know, you learn the lessons from hard things. You learn the lessons from really good things as well. I think what started me off on this journey is I knew I needed a life change. When I looked at my environment, it wasn't offering me what I was dreaming in my head, what was burning in my heart. I see, my brother joined the military before I was. He was almost 10 years older than me. And I seen the change that it produced in his life. I remember going out to the base where he was in his tech school, and I was so fascinated by it, and we all were fascinated by it. In fact, from his wife to my mother and siblings, we were just all blown away. And so, I had something in my heart that said, Jarell, you can be something great. You can do something incredible. You can serve your country. You can protect lives. You can contribute to your community. And in some regard, I was doing that, but I was living a double standard life. I wish I can get into that sometime. We'll have to do another podcast on that. But when I went into the military, into boot camp particularly, it challenged everything in me. It absolutely challenged everything in me. And it tempted me to quit numerous times. And I just knew that if I went home, I wanted to go home a different person, and quitting wasn't an option because I was going to go back into the same stuff otherwise. And so, that's where I started. That was my why. My why was to serve, protect, honor, contribute. And it's still my why. I would say, honestly, though, as I've gotten to know more about the military and our brothers and sisters in the military, they've become my why. They're the reasons why I want to continue to serve, help, contribute, show honor, etc. And so I thank God for my opportunity to serve my country in this capacity. I know there are many that want to do it that cannot. And so I'm grateful for this journey. It's soon coming to an end. Retirement's knocking on the door, but I will in turn be able to turn around and still come back and serve in numerous capacities concerning, my civilian world and the gifts that God has given me to continue to contribute to my society.
Oh man, that's awesome. The Chaplain Corps plays such a vital role in keeping our force strong. Speaking of support and opportunities, today's big topic, Gig Eagle. It's all about that.
Right. Last episode, we got into the Gig Eagle from Chief Ruby and Captain Winky. But today we're going deeper. We're talking about how it's already making an impact, changing outdated processes and shaping the future for Nebraska and beyond.
Exactly. If you haven't checked out part 1 yet, be sure to listen back. But for now, let's jump in and hear how Gig Eagle is evolving and what it means for you.
The views expressed by our guests and hosts are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Air Force, Air National Guard, Nebraska Air National Guard, Nebraska National Guard, or any government agency. Welcome back to part 2 of the Gig Eagle series. If you didn't catch part 1, be sure to check it out. We cover what Gig Eagle is, how it impacts our force innovation efforts, and introduce Captain Winky, the people analyst for Gig Eagle.
What's one of the bigger wins that you've seen with Gig Eagle?
Oh, goodness.
And you can only pick one.
That means I probably then shouldn't talk about the really big win when they used Gig Eagle to hire me.
Nice.
No, let's see. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. The Fort McCoy example is, I think, one of our most powerful ones. Yeah, let me talk about another one. The Air Force Research Laboratories has been working to develop and field generative AI tools that are authorized to operate on DoD networks. One of the projects they've been working on is called Nipper GPT, which is
Mhm.
it's very similar to Chat GPT. It's generative AI. Their most recent, I, I want to say, addition to Nipper GPT is they deployed a retrieval augmented generation tool where you're able to create a little workspace and upload up to 10 documents that the model then like reads and trains itself on.
Oh, it's like a
And
RAG
then
model.
it's able to, yeah, it is exactly that. And it's able to answer questions about those documents. And I was playing with that in my back when I was the MPF OIC, and this little finance guy and he and I got together, and we put in the personnel regs, the finance regs, the JTR, the FM reg, the giant FM reg book,
Here's your new
and
onboarding
actually
assistant.
created had our own little like useful reference tool. Now the way we locally policy wise handled it was like, hey, there had to be a human in the loop. Like you then had to go like verify things to make sure that it wasn't just making it up and spitting them at you.
Right.
But for somebody who really knows how to use those regulations, and is vaguely familiar with them, it's a really good, like I would say, prompting tool to be like, oh yeah, what part of it deals with this again? Put it in, have it throw the excerpt chunk back at you. It's turned into a useful tool for us, at least down at my wing. And AFRL has been developing that for a while. And when they decided they wanted to hire some more talent to work on that team, they went on Gig Eagle, created a gig that's about Nipper GPT, and said, hey, you can work remotely to support us. We've got tours of varying length. Heck, we don't know even exactly what talent we need, but if you have something to contribute to DoD generative AI project, apply and tell us how you can help. And to this date, that application, that gig has received more applications than any other in the platform's history. They had dozens of applicants and were able to just get incredible talent to help out that team. They got people with systems engineering experience. They got software engineers. They got people who are AI researchers who were able to participate and help out in like a numerous ways, whether it was points only IDTs, whether it was their unit letting them bring their own paid IDTs with them or use their own AT days. And then some of the folks even went on MPA Title 10 tours in support of the platform. And that was a really big early win for the platform. That was one of the first gigs posted after the prototype was opened up to everybody in April of 2024. And it marked a moment where the concept was almost validated immediately.
Yeah, I
To
can only
realize,
imagine.
oh wait, this talent is here. Like because you can theorize all you want.
Right. You got to
You
prove
can
it.
look around and it'd be like, wow, like my DSGs are so great. I can look around and say, yeah, my DSG, one of my tech sergeants, she's a full stack engineer and does this and does that, and she's one of my little 3FOs on drill weekends.
Yep.
We could say that anecdotally, but there's always the question of like, does this actually exist at scale, and can we harness it across the enterprise? Because like we've discussed, there has been no way to see this stuff at scale before.
Right.
And having such a big win with the Nipper GPT project so early in the platform's life, it was something really validating for the team at the time, and motivated them to keep on the gas.
Yeah.
And it's only grown from there.
There's two things with that. So the first I want to call out is for anybody listening, if you're not using Nipper GPT and trying to figure out ways to make your job easier when you come into drill, or if you're a full timer, you probably should look into it, because the idea of uploading regs, and yes, you do have to validate them, but having that co-pilot um, is really helpful. All right, you've talked about this a little bit, but summarize it for me. What is the vision and long-term strategy for Gig Eagle?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say, the first thing here is it's bigger than just Gig Eagle. Gig Eagle is a tool. It is maybe the first platform of what we're calling the broader agile talent ecosystem.
I'm
The
happy to hear
whole
you say
the
that.
drive. Yes, yes. The whole driving idea behind agile talent is that the military has been locked into these industrial era personnel practices, and in some ways these now outdated modes of service that are making us leave talent on the table, or not even fully wield the talent that we have due to existing organizational silos. Um, and what we want to do is work on different aspects of those problems across the entire DoD. So in terms of vision for Gig Eagle, like for the platform itself, we're hoping that we can get some active component organizations on the platform and start to use it for internal staffing needs or other pilot programs. One pilot program in the works is with one of the branches recruiting organizations, creating a bench of junior service members from other organizations who aren't recruiters, but who are vetted and are able to speak intelligently and compellingly about their experiences in the specified career field. Basically using Gig Eagle as a tool to connect recruiters whose applicants want authoritative points of view and info on specific job fields with junior members across the Air Force who, on a nights and weekends basis, or not the Air Force, the military branch that we're working with on this, but just junior members who can speak to that experience and are able to help an applicant see what's going to be the best path for them. And in addition to that, we've been working with other parts of the DoD bureaucracy to work on a version of Gig Eagle that can serve active component military spouses and help connect them with mission connected opportunities across across the country, maybe even at the base where they're stationed. There's been some talks about creating a high side version that the intelligence community entities within DoD are able to use to find people who are cleared, who have the right knowledge that they need. Because right now we have IC agencies that are using the current version of Gig Eagle. But I enjoy reading those descriptions because it's very clear that they're approved word for word and they're not allowed to say anything at all. And so creating a high side version of the platform will really boost its utility and capability for them. And then kind of to sustain this long term and then move beyond just Gig Eagle and get into the realms of policy questions of, hey, how do we make it easier to fund people across services? How do we make it easier for members to do short-term work without needing to staff a release package all the way up through their state tag? Some of these policy questions need to be worked from a different place than in the trenches of a particular product. And so we're hoping to establish joint governance and a joint level office to oversee all such agile talent initiatives and and just really drive progress on this problem set across the organization and beyond. Because the gig eagle concept shouldn't be limited to just military members. Like, you can think even bigger than that. There's already legal authorities that exist that allow other part agencies of governments, state and local governments, nonprofits, federally funded research and development centers. There are authorities that allow the federal government to bring those people in on temporary work details. And if you can take that existing detail authority and somehow integrate it into a platform similar to Gig Eagle, you could have access to the best and brightest across our entire country,
Yes.
theoretically. And, say you need to solve just a horrendously complex problem. Well, what if you could quite literally summon the nation's foremost experts in those areas to help on that problem? It's something that's very real, and it's very much within the realm of possibility. The tech is there, at least out on the civilian side. The authorities are there to an extent, even if underutilized. But we just need the right organization at the right level of the DoD hierarchy to really try to incubate and scale these concepts so that we're able to really get after an increasingly complex mission as the stakes only grow higher amid our strategic competition. It is a strategic imperative that we be ready to get more out of the talent we have, then develop the systems and processes to quickly integrate more talent and sort it into bins where it will be used most effectively if we were to ever activate the draft again. And then also be able to enable industry and academia to contribute in a more tailored fashion. The technologies that drive warfare now are extremely complex and require a great deal of specialized knowledge. And we need to be able to, identify, mobilize, and apply the right talent against these problems. And we want to help DoD, develop the policies, authorities, mechanisms, and platforms necessary to do that if it comes to it.
Within your role too, everything that you've talked about really has evangelized how you're working to advance the vision and the long-term strategy of Gig Eagle. But if you were to condense how your mindset when you come into work to continue to move things forward and advance that vision, what would you say?
Every day when I come into work, especially now that I'm doing a lot of work to focus on General McGinley's strategic vision and priorities, I know that what I'm doing is moving us closer to being prepared to fight and win a large scale war if needed to be. Our society needs to be prepared for the 21st century version of total war, because we may not, the United States may not have a choice on whether it gets pulled into one someday or not. And it is, imperative that we are prepared to we might not start fights, but we will finish them. And we have a decisive edge in the human domain. And every day I'm fortunate enough to be doing work that allows us to not only maintain that edge, but hopefully as we mature these agile talent concepts, platforms, systems, etc., help us extend that edge we have and will continue to have in the human domain.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say, people are listening to this from Nebraska and they're like, yep, I'm on board. Let's do this. And they create a profile. How might our airmen and soldiers, for that matter, because it could be both, They get in on the platform and they are involved, and our leadership starts being involved. How might Nebraska's feedback to Gig Eagle actually help evolve the product?
Yeah, because right now there are some community or like, like colloquially speaking, communities that are trying to use the platform for a similar use case, which is being able to track their own internal talent, develop it, and apply it. But I I think that the National Guard use case is the most compelling just because of the nature of state missions being whatever the governor needs you to do.
Yes.
And that means that like the constellation of potential demand signals that that a state will receive is way much broader relative to its size compared to, I think, any other organization in the military. And so the National Guard, then, if the concept of this community-based skill tracking and application can be proved, like for a National Guard state such as Nebraska, that is going to provide, I think, the most compelling lessons learned for us to evolve and develop the product from there. Because if we can do it for the Guard, we can darn well do it anywhere.
Yes. Our state command chief went to an EFAC, I think it was last year, and he talked about the Carnegie Mellon project that we were working on at the EFAC. And there was several states that said, hey, when you solve that problem, let us know. So I without a shadow of a doubt, if we can get Nebraska to jump in and figure out how to use this to best support Nebraska while also evolving our airmen's professional and civilian careers, we're solving the problem nationally, not just for
Yeah,
ourselves.
exactly.
All right. So what, in your perspective, what are some of the next steps if for our listeners to jump in and say, yeah, I want to be part of this. I want to be a part of the solution, and I want Nebraska to lead the way. What are some of those? What do those steps look like?
Yeah. So the first and most fundamental step is people just need to be on the platform. And to sign up for Gig Eagle, you need to be on a computer with a CAC reader. It doesn't need to be on the network necessarily. It just needs to have a CAC reader. And you go to gigeagle.mil. You'll sign in for the first time with your CAC. You can set up, you can use the Air Force A1's Okta Verify service to set up multi-factor authentication on your phone. That would actually let you log in without your CAC in the future, but that's kind of advanced. Let's just focus on profile building. And the Gig Eagle Profile Builder wizard allows you to upload a PDF of your resume, which I always recommend. You can go on LinkedIn and download your LinkedIn profile as a PDF, and it formats it into a resume. You just upload that resume, and the Gig Eagle's profile creation wizard will basically say, oh, here's what we think is your experiences from that. Here's what we think is your education. And then, shift it around a little bit from there, add your availability, add a quick 2-line, intro to yourself, create your profile, get in the system. That is the first and most fundamental thing, because that's what gives you access to all these opportunities that are currently hiring on Gig Eagle. Gosh, I think we got more than 300 gigs that are active on the platform right now. And that also, what that does is indexes you in the system to where you can be identified as a member of the Nebraska National Guard, who then is able to be sorted on our back end into the community bucket that will provide the nucleus for Chief and the other folks up at State HQ to see who you are, see what your skills are, and start working toward this vision of being able to see the skills of the entire Nebraska National Guard. The first and most important step is to create your profile. I would say the second most important step is to get the people around you to make their profiles too. Really, this is this is something where it is only going to work if members buy in and believe that what needs to motivate this is a belief that you have more to bring to the table than just your AFSC and SEIs can suggest. Because right now in MIL PDS, that's really all we can see about you. Like, we can search by, maybe also by specialized courses you've attended, but I guarantee you every single member of the Nebraska National Guard has some mission relevant talents and skills, whether they realize they're relevant or not, that aren't captured in military personnel data systems.
Every
And we
single
need
member.
people to realize that, and we need them to create those profiles.
Yeah, I think the second thing I would add is then we need to make sure we have the right group of people contacting support to get the right permissions to leverage the communities too.
Yes, and that's one of my projects is making sure that we get the communities feature to where a good pool of people up at headquarters are able to access and query the data and really able to put it into action for state priorities and programs.
I think I created my profile when I was on the call with you when we were talking about communities, and it took me less than 10 minutes. It was pretty quick. So
yeah, and it's one of those things that it can be faster, it can be shorter. You'll get out what you put into it.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Well, thank you for giving us the next steps to get Nebraska rolling. It's exciting. Gig Eagle as a whole is just exciting. I know that it's just awesome. So I do want to ask a closing question as we wrap up. And that's with the first series of our podcast that we released, we talked all about mentorship. What type of mentorship have you had that has helped you travel down the path that you're currently on?
Yeah, that's a good question, Chief. In my military career, I've benefited from having mentors that were perhaps more focused on developing people and doing their work well than they were with doing what might be, say, the safest thing for their career, or really where like the mission and the people came before their own ambitions within the institution. When I was a brand new second lieutenant in the North Carolina Army Guard, I was on a brigade staff, and I was the a brigade strength manager, so basically like a manpower analyst for the brigade. And my boss was a major. He was the brigade S1, so he was the principal personnel staff officer for this brigade. I think we had north of 2,000 soldiers in it. And every once in a while, he would dig his heels in on something, and maybe the way his methods weren't always the best. He would be like, "Hey, that is a stupid idea, and I'm not doing it. And what are you going to do? Are you going to fire me?" But the lesson I took away from his mentorship, though, was that the way that we are doing things doesn't need to remain the same way. Like if the way we're doing things doesn't make sense, it helps the organization if you are, the person willing to look at new ways of solving problems, or if the tide is too strong to really solve it, being the stick in the mud that makes people pause and then provide an opportunity to do things a better way is also a really worthy use of the perhaps not always deserved rank and deference that you can have, so that you can receive sometimes as an officer. And I was taught very early to use that use that for good, especially as a drill status guy. And what I took forward from that was this attitude of doing right by my people, doing right by my organizations, and being willing to take risks to do that. I think a line I've used a few times is, the guard pays my cell phone bill. Why am I here if I'm not willing to do things for people? Like, there's not a ton at risk for me here, and so that really, having mentors like that really encouraged me to fight for entitlements for my guys, fight to make systems and processes better. It was a really formative influence on me, about what the difference you can make if you, even as a young officer, if you were determined and willing to take risks in the right situations.
Well, it's very easy to see the line between where you've landed with Gig Eagle and some of the mentorship that you've received in your career. And so with that,
Yeah.
Captain Mickey, I want to thank you for joining us today. We're really looking forward to seeing where Gig Eagle goes next and how Nebraska can be part of that journey.
And we're excited to be on this train with you too.
All right. Well, thanks to our listeners out there, and until next time.
That was a fantastic discussion, and with Chief Ruby and Captain Winky, Gig Eagle is really shaping up to be a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not looking into it yet, I think now's the time.
And speaking of that, since part 1 of this conversation, many of you have already taken action, set up profiles, and joined the Gig Eagle platform. That's exactly what we'd love to hear.
If you haven't done it yet, I'd say don't wait. Go to gigeagle.mil from a CAC-enabled computer, create your profile, and set up an account for future access without a CAC, so you can log in anytime and anywhere.
And we'd love to hear from you. If you've found anything helpful or had a great experience so far, let us know, because we already know you have. Now let's take a moment to highlight some amazing people and events happening across Nebraska. Shout out to Cara Loken, a dedicated military spouse and advocate for the military families, who has been named the 2024 Air Force Association Air National Guard Spouse of the Year.
Yeah, that's incredible. Huge congrats to Cara. Her work has made such a difference for military families, man.
Speaking of outstanding achievements, Jarell, didn't you receive the 2024 Calvin P. Titus Distinguished Service Award from the Military Chaplains Association in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania back in August?
Yeah, it was a huge honor, man. The award recognizes individuals in the Chaplain Corps who go above and beyond in service. And honestly, I just do what I can to support and uplift our airmen.
Well, congratulations. That's an amazing achievement and very well deserved. All right, folks, mark your calendars. Here are some key events coming up in April and May. April Drill Weekend. It's the base's first 5K run, hosted by the 155th Force Support Squadron. Get your running shoes ready. You should have already been registered, but if you haven't, contact Force Support Squadron to get registered now. And Sunday during the April Drill Weekend is our Sunday baby shower for expecting parents. Also, you should have been registered for this as well, but the QR code around. And if you've registered, do not forget to attend, because our growing military families deserve celebration too.
Yeah, April 17th, Open Hangar event. A great opportunity to see an incredible work happening across the Guard.
And also, don't forget about the Military Kids Ball, April 26th in Ashland.
To register, go to nekidsball2025.eventbrite.com. That's nekidsball2025.eventbrite.com.
And also on May 4th is the Lincoln Marathon. So whether you're running or cheering, come support fellow Guards members. Thank you so much.
Now, before we wrap things up, let's talk safety. With winter fading away and summer approaching, we're bringing back an important reminder. Yep. That's it. The 101 Critical Days of Summer is back. It's the safety campaign. It runs from Memorial Day, May 26th to Labor Day, September 1st.
Yeah, that's right. I'd say it's more than a slogan. It's a commitment to reducing accidents and keeping our airmen safe. So here are some of the most common summer mishaps that lead to the most issues. motor vehicle accidents, to include motorcycles, water-related incidences, sports or outdoor activities, and then one preventable mishap is too many, to be honest. So stay aware, be prepared, and look out for each other. Let's set a goal of 0 mishaps this summer.
All right, Jarell, your first episode as co-host is in the books. How was the experience?
Hey, man, this was awesome. I had a blast, and it was great being part of something that truly connects and informs our airmen.
Think you're ready to host one solo in the future?
I'd definitely give it a shot.
Oh my gosh, I'd love to hear it. Before we sign off, don't forget, check the show notes for the feedback link. Your input helps us make this show even better.
Yeah, and be sure to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your fellow airmen. Turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on the next episode.
And make sure you stay tuned next month. Senior Master Sergeant Eddie got to sit down with Brigadier General Hargens, and they got to have a conversation about the vision of the Air National Guard. We learned about his history and so much more. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.
Until then, stay safe, stay connected, and keep fueling the mission.
This is the Phantom Fuel Podcast. We'll see you next month.